And we begin this hour in KwaZulu-Natal. The death toll in the horror bus crash on the N2 along the province's north coast has now risen to 9. More than 60 passengers suffered injuries ranging from critical to minor. A 4-year-old, we're told, is among those who've died. Now, the bus is said to have plunged down an embankment after a tyre burst. It was ferrying members of the 12 Apostle in Trinity Church from Richards Bay to Shagaskral near KwaDukuza. Rescuers worked for several hours to flee some of those who were trapped inside the wreckage. KwaDukuza Mayor Muzingiti has joined those who've expressed their shock following the accident. He says it's worrying that these types of incidents are common along the N2 between KwaDukuza and Mandeni. Let's take you straight to the scene of this devastating crash early this morning. Now, that's where we find our reporter Jade Paulse, who's actually listening into a media briefing by KZN Duma, the MEC. Let's listen in.
The boundaries of Ilembe District Municipality, the mayor is present, the KwaDukuza local municipality is present, the Mandeni. It's a reality that last year we were here, we lost so many lives. Almost a kilometer or 2 kilometers away from that scene, the actual event took place. It's a painful tragedy. The bandla of the Church of TAC, the mayor of Dukuza is part and parcel of the church, and some of his relatives were also affected. Fortunately for now, there is no one who has lost a life in the family, but it's something that is very close to him. So at this point in time, we just have to come closer to the process. We are told already 9 people have lost their lives. We just also have to thank the team that were able to rescue, the rescue mission and the RTI team, the subs from Kopal in particular were here last night. They've taken that road. At this point in time, we are told of a story of a tyre that burst. So we are not just going to say, allegedly you might find that there is a speed, allegedly you might find that the driver did not take a proper caution. You might even find that there was an overload. So we are not just going to dwell on so much up until the proper investigation has been done. It is also declared as a crime scene as much as we are here, so we just have to understand that process. But our main solace aim in the foundation now, go closer to the families, comfort them, ensure that the government is taking and playing that role. And so far, the families have already thanked the transport department that they've done everything they could yesterday. And we are certain at this point in time that the occurrence and the event in this arena is not going to be the thing that is not going to be taken light. So we are just going to go to deeper details. The bus wreckage are still there, and the debris are still there in the incident. So we are still going to monitor the process. And we do want to thank you because they almost took 2.5 hours just to ensure that everyone is taken out of the process. So that's what we could do at this point in time.
Thank you very much, MEC. I see there's a chaplain that was installed a couple of weeks ago, Paulse you indicated, MEC, that you were about to receive a report from the Road Traffic Inspectorate and the Road Safety Unit, a report, a plan for the first. You just indicated as well that you are planning to launch the road safety campaign for the Easter holiday. Do you want to perhaps just have a reflection on that?
We can just browse through that. We've already agreed that we are going to host our Easter launch here in this belt. We are told of a scenario that in some instances is historical, because remember that there were dwellings. People were evacuated from this area when the sugar canes were planted and when this road was built at some point in time. The reality of the spirit of the bones, they do play a pivotal role. We still have to do a proper thorough that research through anthropology in ensuring that at least they do monitoring the process, and at the end of spiritually we do some cleansing of some sort. So we're just going to do that. We've just agreed that as we embark on the strategy of Easter, we are just going to check almost all the taxis that are going to be utilized, the buses, so using Apostle Vimpungose, and we're just going to assemble almost all the religious sectors in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So those who will be going out of the province and incoming in the province, we are just going to ensure that the transport that are going to utilize is in trustworthy, permit and all those things. So we're also going to do that. So this has been identified and we are just going to give you an issue the date.
Yeah, maybe before we allow the media to ask a question, Jade from SABC, there's a clinical psychologist that has brought here by Ayanda Msweli, who's also going to be part of the healing process. Maybe that process of visiting the families, MEC working with the mayors, Mayor of KwaDukuza, Mayor of Mandeni and Mayor of Ilembe, the visits to the families.
We know that when there is an accident, almost every time there is a trauma, and the trauma, there are some certain phases. In some instances, certain family members, they will start by rejection, that it's not possible that one of my brothers, sisters, uncles was part and parcel of the process. So the psychologist pass or the traumatic counseling services deals with that. Later on, they will then accept, but still they need the healing processes. So we always does that process, that we come with the psychologist who's understanding the processes, who will deliberate on ensuring, in particular this time, remember this was a pilgrimage, a church service, so it means that majority of those people were not aware that there might be some instances, so others will be asking a lot of questions, answers, in particular the family. So we just have to revisit that concept, but visit almost all of them, even those who are still in hospital. We still have to do those processes, ensure that they are being covered. But and as you know, in terms of the police, we are just going to assist almost all those families when if they are going to honor that and do that. But even it means that they want to bury individual, but it's a church, I'm sure it's going to be easy. We're just going to talk to the families and the pastor was involved, who is also related to the mayor of KwaDukuza. So I think it's something that we are going to agree and embark on it.
Thank you very much. Jade, do you want to ask a question? Then we follow News from Africa.
From the SABC. Status of the driver of the bus, do we know that? And the second one also being, you spoke about not ruling out reckless driving. What are preliminary reports from RTI and authorities telling you? Are there any indication on the road that says otherwise? And then just looking at the Easter holidays, like you say, MEC, this particular stretch on the N2 is very dangerous. Is there going to be a beefing up of RTI and law enforcement to combat the scourge of accidents that we are seeing on our roads in KZN? Thank you.
The driver is alive, is in hospital as we speak, although we're not just going to which hospital, as you understand almost the risk and the sensitivity. So the driver is alive and is being monitored, the progress of what is currently happening. I'm sure as we can all agree that N2 and N3, even the strip that are under construction, are very good. This one in particular, it's a smooth and a flat road, which is why I said that there are dimensional matters, probably the issue of cleansing processes, because you always have these things. So at some point in time, let us do probably a prayer and do some other cleansing. But the issue of visibility, yes, RTI will be visible. RTMC will have a joint operation in particular. As well, that's why I'm saying that we are going to launch here area, in this belt in particular. I think it is going to assist, because the reality that others do speed in this area. So the visibility of RTI and the theme that zero tolerance in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, it's something that we are going to launch and implement to the T, because we can't afford more fatalities, especially during the Passover or the Easter holiday. So yes, we are spot on when it comes to that. Our teams are already on the ground preparing for this process, which is why I've already highlighted that chaplains were to embark in ensuring that we accept the invitation from other stakeholders, but invite them to go have a look at the taxis that are going to be carried or those goers and the buses. This to be the same exercise, and even necessarily all the processes, we are going to afford them that opportunity to be assisted.
As to how many people were inside the bus, and there's also conflicting reports around whether it's an 82-seater or an 88. And secondly, do we know if any of the families will be coming onto the site today to do processes like
we are communicating with the families. We are going to meet some of them later on. The reality is that they're above the 60s. The reality why you'll have a conflicting report is that in some instances the media will ascertain their number, and we must come with a proper presentation. We've already said that 9 have been declared dead, and in terms of the size and the capacity of the bus, after this wreckage, we are going to confirm that, because even the issue of ensuring that how many were there certainly wouldn't want at this point in time to give you an official report, so that we don't find the contradictions afterwards. And we are just praying at this point in time that there is no one who's left still on the scene, so which is something that might be painful. So at the right time, we are just going to have a proper media briefing and issue the proper number.
MEC, have you contacted the bus company, and what are your engagements? If you've at least spoken to them, have they been able to produce the required permits? Do they know if the bus was in good condition when last to go for checks? So all of those matters concerning perhaps safety of this bus to be operated on the road.
Those are part and parcel of what RTI goes or does. Same thing with SABC. So SABC is going to check whether there was no reckless, then they declare it as a criminal sin. We do the same. In terms of preliminary, we are going to check the permits, the list of those who were inside the bus when it was a service and all those things. So I think we are duty bound. That is why I'm saying that at a later stage, we are then going to indicate and mention the capacity of the bus, and if it was overloaded, we are not going to be shy. We are just also going to say that unfortunately the bus was overloaded, or the capacity and the number corresponded, so there was no need for anything. Probably if there was a tyre burst, the machine, the instrument, our technology is very advanced. We are going to get that after the proper indication and the investigation. So we are just going to do and proceed with our indication and investigation.
How long does an investigation of this nature take, MEC?
No, it will depend. The preliminaries is going to be easy to do it because the driver is well known, is still alive, and the taxi or the company is also in the area of KwaZulu-Natal. So very soon we are just going to give you the indication.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MEC. Well, that was the MEC of Transport, Siboniso Duma, just giving us a briefing to the media, talking to us about this horrific crash. I'm just going to ask my colleague Raimbele if we can just take a few steps and just walk and show you that horrific bus crash on your scene. The MEC is saying there that officially 9 passengers on this bus have died. He is, however, saying that the capacity of the bus is still in question. IPSS on the scene, as well as other medical emergency services, said that this bus was an 88-seater bus, Ayanda. However, the MEC is saying that they are still doing the investigations and have not ruled out the fact that the driver could have perhaps been speeding, allegedly saying there that he's not entirely convinced that this was a tire burst, but he will definitely be briefing us again in the course of the coming days, just to give us more clarity once that preliminary report is concluded here on the ground, and saying that more than 62 passengers were ferried to nearby hospitals. The driver of the bus, Ayanda, has survived, and he's also receiving medical attention in the hospital. Well, I'll leave it there and hand it back to you in studio, Ayanda.
All right, Jade Paulse is part of our team, and you can see there the horrific remnants of that bus still very visible, at least now, under the light of day. Of course, this is an accident that took place last night. Jade Paulse was among the first to actually arrive at the scene. And Jade, if you are still able to hear us, I was hoping to gauge from you just a comparison from what you saw last night to what's visible around you there this morning. It sounds like the road has been reopened once again, but of course, evidence of what took place last night also clear for everyone to see.
Last night when we arrived, it was extremely dark, and it was so difficult for, emergency services to try and locate those passengers. What we saw was really, really painful. We saw so many community members, churchgoers, family members coming out to try and see if their loved ones were amongst those that died, Ayanda. And just reflecting back, and I know we've been speaking about, the particular bus and where it was traveling from. For those that are just catching the tail end of this particular story. This bus is and was traveling from Richards Bay to Guadacuza. Many of the members on the bus resided from the Apostle Trinity Church. They were being ferried to Shakas Kraal near Guadacuza, going home after a church service when the bus collided. And what we have been told is that allegedly a tire burst happened and it veered off the road 100 meters into this ditch. And we saw rescue workers working for hours. They only concluded their operations around 11:30 last night. Many of those members of the family members, the community, as well as churchgoers who were actually traveling behind the bus and witnessed it, were absolutely shocked and horrified at what they saw. When we got here, it was really, really dark. We saw a lot of people running all over the show, trying to see if their loved ones were amongst the deceased, speaking to other churchgoers to find out if their friends had survived, who was taken to hospital, just names. And I think what was really painful for the media to see is that emergency personnel were actually allowing some of the family members who had heard that there was a horrific crash to even view some of the bodies, to give a name and a surname and a face to the deceased, and also the identification process to be taken underway. And this is what was happening. The road, Ayanda, has been opened on both sides of the N2. Still a bit of rubble on the roads, but majority of it has been cleared. The wreckage, however, we're not yet sure when that's going to be taken away from this particular area. I imagine that's going to be quite a lengthy process. But on the ground here, law enforcement as well as RTI, the MEC and the mayor of Guadacuza still here, still doing their preliminary report. As we heard the MEC MEC Duma saying that they will be speaking to us again in the next coming days and giving us a final report on what exactly transpired here. Ayanda.
All right, Jade Paulse, great reporting as always. We'll leave it there for now. Jade is our reporter live to us there from the N2 highway on KwaZulu-Natal's north coast between Guadacuza and Mandeni. You can see this is still certainly a developing story. The driver, once again, of that bus, we're told, has survived, is being treated in hospital, and I imagine is going to answer a couple of questions once, of course, if he makes it out of that condition.